السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Majority of the people, when they hear the word Shaam, the conquest of Shaam, the only thing they want to know is Muhammad Moulana, someone we can trust on it. So that is one issue that we feel should be put aside. A person's character, a person's secrets. If he is a good person, then to doubt him there is no benefit. And if he is a bad person, then evil really shows itself after 10-15 years. So to sit from now and say, can I trust, can't I trust, can I trust, can't I trust, is not going to help anything. We are going to try to explain a bigger picture of Shaam. Where it was, how far it has come, and what hopes we have for it for the future, and where our place lies in this entire matter. Allah Ta'ala had blessed the lands of Shaam. It was the land of the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. It was a land that had such a taste that even when Egypt became the most blessed land for the people of Banu Israel, Yaqub alayhi salam's son is Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam goes to Egypt. He becomes like the king in Egypt. He brings his father, his mother. Imagine if your son is like the king. Shaam had such a taste in it, but that when Yaqub alayhi salam is passing away, he says, even though I lived in Egypt, but I can't allow myself to be buried in Egypt. When I die, I ask you, please, you must take my body back to Shaam. Yusuf alayhi salam passed away in Egypt. He was buried in Egypt. Yusuf alayhi salam made wasiyah. When the people of my father, Banu Israel, one day will leave Egypt, then I ask you, you will not leave Egypt except that you take me with you also. Nabi Musa alayhi salam, when he's leaving with Banu Israel, at the beginning of the journey, at the end of the journey, he also takes a wrong turn. And then he lands up by the waters, and then Pharaoh is drowned. At the beginning of the journey, things are not going well. He can't get out of Egypt. Musa alayhi salatu wassalam says something is not right. One person says, Yusuf alayhi salam, his wasiyat was, we can't leave Egypt unless we take him with. He said, where is he? They said, we don't know, he's buried in this area. He said, who knows? A very old woman, very old. He said, I will show you the body of Yusuf alayhi salam on condition that despite my age, you have to take me with you. So I'm an old woman, I may take long on the journey, you have to take me with you. He made a deal with her, show me. She made a couple of deals. This was one, you will have to take me with you. She made other deals and then she showed the body. Yusuf alayhi salam was taken back to the lands of Shaam. The land of Shaam has such a taste, that people who lived out of Shaam still said, if I have to die, let me be buried in Shaam. When they took over now, if you had read reports of people who lived in Turkey for the last 10 to 15 years, from the time the war started, the war had started about 40 years before. Because in the last 10 years that a lot of Syrians, borders of Turkey opened up for them. It was very hard for the Turkish people. May Allah Ta'ala reward the Turkish people. It's very easy to say be soft. Very easy. It's not easy. When the Syrians came, they came in huge numbers. The whole world promised that we will look after the Syrians. They all lied. Everyone lied. Turkey is the only one that lived up to his promise. And it took with it such a debt on its country. We visited Turkey, and thereafter Allah Ta'ala gave us the chance to enter into the safe zone of Syria a few years ago. I will explain to you a few things I saw at that time, how far they have come from there and how much hope we have for the future. While we were there, an incident happened where one person in the Turkish restaurant, because a Syrian boy was begging, and a beggar is a beggar, whether he is Muslim, non-Muslim, you get irritated with him. So one of the restaurant owners smacked the boy. because you're troubling the customers. And it was, when we were there in Syria, it's not easy. You just walk, especially if you're wearing a kurta, they think you're an Arab. You see an Arab, they think you must be having money. You walk, you can have behind you 50 to 60 young boys. How do you get rid of them? How do you tell them, I got no money, go away, you get irritated. One of our friends, he got thrilled because one woman walked up to him. Our people like that a woman walks up to you. It's like, who's behind the veil? You'll never know. It was a Syrian woman maybe. She just said that I got a madrasa, I got so many students. He got so thrilled, like he's saying, who can translate for me? As he's talking to her, he's surrounded by 10 women. Surrounded. Then he realized he made tawbah, no more salam to any woman. So much of poverty that you just take out a little note and from every side they are around you. How they were suffering in Turkey. How they were suffering. And the Turkish people, for us we got so irritated in 1-2 days. For the Turkish people, you can understand how frustrated you get that your country opened up the doors, nobody else is happy. And everyone is losing jobs because the Syrians, the big numbers, they're taking any job. Economy is going down, people are losing jobs, getting irritated. He smacked the Syrian child. It came in the newspaper, the people of Turkey will not allow abuse to the Syrians. The people of Turkey will not allow abuse to the Syrians. It's a very big statement, they loved up to it. They really loved up to it. There were those Turks who got irritated. In recent time, if you went and you just dressed like what you call putting on a kurta, just because they would think you are Syrian, they would become upset with you. What are you doing here? Isn't it time to go back to your land? But the majority of the people of Turkey lived up to such a promise. And when these people were going through the borders, the soldiers were giving chocolates to the small children. They were giving presents. They were not telling them, thank us. They were helping them. They were carrying their bags. So many years of difficulty. They never said, finally, you're out. But as they were going, the Syrians also spoke. People were at the borders taking reports. The first thing the Syrians were saying is that how we thank the people of Turkey, they opened up their hearts for us. It was not easy at all. The economy collapsed. And then another sentence that many of them said is, I became so comfortable in Turkey. I was going to school in Turkey. I had my friends in Turkey. And then they would say, but Shaam is Shaam. When that man said Shaam is Shaam, he would have 2 bags in his hands. In 10 to 12 years, he had a good job in Turkey. If you had to see what work they did, what they built up. With his good job, he had put up an apartment. Definitely an apartment, you'll bring your stove, your fridge, you'll bring a house. As soon as they took over, that man tells his wife, pack, we're going home. Home means what? A land with no house. Because when they reached there were no houses, everything bombed out. What he left behind in Turkey, whatever he worked for 12 to 13 years, overnight he makes a decision, I'm going home. That level of love of the land of Shaam which Allah gave them, we will never understand because we never tasted the land of Shaam. For us, our house means everything. For them, their home means everything. No house. I'll go back and build up. 2 bags is more than enough. They left everything. 10 to 15 years of effort. Overnight, the person is at the borders. I'm going home. The love of Shaam. Sahabi radiallahu anhu asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that with regards to the future, where do I go? He says, you people will grow. Islam's army was growing. He said, you will divide into 3 unique armies. And it happened. He said, there will be 1 unique army in Shaam, 1 unique army in Yemen, 1 unique army in Iraq. If you know where Hijaz al-Muqaddas is, Makkah Mukarramah, you come down, it's Yemen. You go up, it's Shaam. You go to the right, it's Iraq. So Shaam, Iraq, Yemen. On the other side, on the left-hand side, is the waters, is the Red Sea. So it's only on this side you're looking at land. Under is Yemen, above is Shaam, and on the side is Iraq. The Arabs had a natural affiliation with Yemen because Yemen was the capital of the Arab lands. Even when Makkah Mukarramah was the center, Yemen was the center. That's why Abraha was in Yemen, and then from Yemen he said, why go to Makkah? Come here to Yemen. As for Shaam, Shaam was the land of the Romans. Iraq was the land of the Persians. So Yemen was Yemen. He says, you will become in 3 armies. So the Sahabi says, then choose for me. This mashwara that he was asking is a mashwara that through him has now come to us. That a day will come where Islam's armies will come again. History repeats itself. It will not repeat itself completely, but to a great extent. There it was 3 armies, Shaam, Yemen and Iraq. At the end of time, Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about Khurasan. That is in that region also, going past Iraq, Iran, then comes the land of Khurasan. Khurasan, Shaam, Yemen. Only Iraq. Iraq will not feature as a Muslim land in the end of times. And we will explain that. So in the beginning there were 3 armies, Shaam, Yemen and Iraq. The Sahabi says, choose for me. He says, choose Shaam. But you can already see on the man's face that what about Yemen? Because Yemen is Arab land. He says, choose Shaam. He says, if you have to, okay, no problem, go to Yemen. Go and enjoy your farms, water your fields. You want Yemen, go become a farmer. Meaning choose Shaam. He says, because Allah has taken responsibility of the people of Shaam. Then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would say, وَإِنَّ الْإِيمَانِ حِينَ تَقَعُ الْفِتْنَةُ, that when the day that fitna, trial will rise in the world, which most likely means before Qiyamah, before the coming of the Mahdi, when that highest level of trials the world will see, he said, Al-Iman fi Shaam, that the people of true Iman, you will find them in the lands of Shaam, at the time of fitna. A mashwara that was given to me and you, that one day when the need is there to move, and there's Muslim lands and Muslim armies, then move to the land of Shaam. Move to the land of Shaam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would say, don't ever criticize the people of Shaam. He would say, when you will see evil on the lands of Shaam, then under the land is better than on top of the land. When the Khilafat fell, the land of Shaam was introduced to the worst levels of evil. Bashar al-Assad, his father was known as Hafiz al-Assad. He was part of a family called, or a group called the Baath Party. Saddam Hussein was part of the Baath Party, Bashar al-Assad, and a few others who are alive now and already are shivering. Saddam Hussein, at the end of his life, according to what we understand, he made tawbah. He pulled out of the satanic group. Baath Party is an Arabic word which means al-Ba'ath, Ba'in Tha, Baath. It's an Arabic word, al-Ba'ath. Ba'ath means resurrection. We speak of Yawmul Ba'ath, the day of Qiyamah. In their circles, al-Ba'ath means Renaissance. So if ever you were in school and you learned European history, you'll hear about the Renaissance. And they make it look like a very nice thing, the Renaissance. They were great painters, great scientists. The Renaissance was the movement, a satanic movement, to create the rebirth. Renaissance means rebirth. Rebirth means once upon a time how the devil was so powerful in the world. When Islam came, before the coming of Islam, every leader had a jinn with him. The mighty Persian Empire were open worshippers of the shaitan. Rome was an unopen worshipper of the devil. Because Constantine had changed the Christian religion, making it from Christianity into satanic worship. They had the name of a Christian, but they did everything that the Satanists would do. In Persia, it was open fire worship. Open fire worship. They had the mighty fire, what we see during the Olympics. Then Islam came. On the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a fire that burned for 1,000 years, that fire went off. It was indication your era is almost up. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's nubuwah at the age of 40, your era is almost up. He's digging the trench. He says, Allah showed me the palaces of Persia. Hypocrites are laughing, where Persia? Where Persia? Umar radiallahu anh becomes Khalif and Islam goes through Rome and Persia. The end of the worship of the devil in a big scale in the world. From that time until the Renaissance, European Renaissance, the devil was not worshipped in an open manner. There was never something called we Satanists. We are Illuminati, we are Freemasons. That word was never heard. Who you worship? I worship the devil. No one would say a thing less. Everyone knew devil is bad. Renaissance, the rebirth. And then the rebirth saw small countries taking over the world and spreading in the world satanic worship. The Renaissance in Europe had to move to the Arab lands. It became known as Al-Ba'ath. Just like how in the Renaissance, no person was important in the Renaissance unless he was a worshipper of the devil. No person was important in the Renaissance unless he was a worshipper of the devil. Whether his name was Michelangelo, Leonardo, whether he was Shakespeare, whose books are read by so many people in the world. You could not be important in the Renaissance unless you were a worshipper of the devil. When the Arab Renaissance was created, Al-Ba'ath, right at the beginning they chose people that on the fall of the Khilafah, they already started a 100-year mission of theirs to bring down the Khilafah of Istanbul. 100 years of effort. They were Freemason lodges in the lands of Turkey. After 100 years they were ready, they brought it down. On bringing it down, the world war takes place. Suddenly there's a group called the Ba'ath Party. This group was selected from before. You could not be a member of the Renaissance unless you were a worshipper of the devil. This family were worshipping the devil and they were brought in. Saddam Hussein later when he made Tawbah, people close to him said he had never read Quran until the day when America did to him what they did. He had never read Quran despite being so-called Arab. Never read Quran. They worshipped the devil. But there were those who realized later on, what am I doing? And they pulled. And there were those that remained. When you read what zulm they did in the lands of Shaam, it's not only in the land of Shaam. Whoever joined this Ba'ath Party, wherever they are in the world, you worship the devil, you please the devil. The devil gets thrilled by seeing man being tortured. It was famous of this party that had taken over Shaam, that where a non-Muslim kills a Muslim, this party did not want to kill a Muslim. They loved to torture Muslims. So if they could do anything to them to keep them alive in pain, they would prefer that instead of killing. When he made his chemical weapon, which would attack the nervous system, those people in the labs were told to put such a dose that will not kill the person, but it will make him like that. It will hit his entire nervous system. He will be a cabbage. He will be a burden to everyone around, but he must not die. It thrilled them to see men suffer. Killing was not going to make them happy at all. Otherwise, whoever went in the prisons, you'll wonder why they tortured until he died. They could have just shot the person dead. Their law was don't kill, torture. Torture until he's almost dead, send him to hospital. Medicine, bring him back, torture. Send him back, torture. Send him back, torture. This was the nature of what the people in the lands of Shaam saw. What Allah will give them because of the sabr is something we cannot imagine. But the day will come when they will see the zalims in front of them on the day of Qiyamah. This is not the world of justice, that's the world of justice. On that day Allah will bring them in front of those that oppress them. And Allah will make them happy when they will see justice being meted out. وَلَا يُعَذِّبُ عَذَابَهُ أَحَدٌ. No one can punish like Allah. That day is coming. But already those zalims in this world, the la'nat of Allah falls on them. At night they can't sleep. They disgraced alive, they are disgraced dead. In the qabr, what will happen to them on the day of Qiyamah? What? And thereafter is Jahannam. The people went through a lot of torture, al-Ba'ath. Bashar al-Assad, he became known in the world as the Zalim. But his father, in his era, he spread atheism in the lands of Shaam. A lot of atheism. They were known as an Alawi sect. Shaam was the land of the people of Sunnah. He closed madaris by killing the ulama. Thereafter there was a period in Shaam that no one was being killed, as long as everyone was happy to be a non-practicing person. As long as there's no Quran, there's no deen, and day by day you incline yourself more towards a Shiri faith. And their Shiri faith wasn't even a normal Shiri faith. It was to worship even Bashar al-Assad and his father. That God has come in you, will worship you also. You worship anyone. As long as the people were doing what they wanted to, but where the people of Shaam were going to do that? There was going to be uprisings, and when the uprising took place, that's when the killing. When the killing took place, I remember at that time when the first Syrian uprising happened, there were a discussion amongst the scholars. What happened was some boys were taken to jail because they wrote on the wall something against Bashar al-Assad. This was the recent Arab uprising after which we visited the land of Syria. Many of you will remember it. So those boys wrote something on the wall, they were taken to the jail. It was so much of oppression, the parents became upset. So many people became upset and they went to that one police station, forcing. Finally they let those small children out. But when they came out, I think their fingers were cut already. It made the people go wild and they stormed, and then suddenly there was an Arab uprising. When that uprising started, like fire, they started moving through villages. But we're fed up now. And that's when Russia had to come in. Allah Ta'ala's system, amazing it is, history, that whenever there's the first uprising, it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. And at that time, many people say why they did what they did. So many people had to die. But it is the blood of the first group that gives life to the second group. It is the blood of the first group that gives life to the second group. When the Arab uprising took place, Bashar al-Assad came down very hard. And that's when Turkey had to take in so many. And that's what happened, what I'll explain now. But I remember at that time a group of scholars were sitting. So one scholar said that I don't know why they did what they did. Don't they know that you must remain obedient to the leader no matter what? I did not say much at that time, but in my heart it was that how far you are from reality. At that time the people of Shaam were being forced into atheism, into Shiism, into Satanism, into Kufr. But because there was no blood, everyone was happy. To say, don't fight. Why you fought? You shouldn't have fought. Live happy. Your king is not doing anything to you. Why you must stand up? If you only knew what was happening in Shaam at that time. You only knew. Bashar al-Assad came down very hard. The people went through a lot of sabr. Allah Ta'ala gave us the opportunity. We made a journey into the land. There was a distribution of aid. Because we had requested that not just the normal, we want to meet some things, like something nice. So they had gathered scholars from the different areas of Shaam. So there was one famous madrasa, it was known as the Jamia of Imam Nawawi. When Bashar al-Assad attacked, he brought an end to this Jamia. They were Shafi'i scholars, many of them were martyred, and those that survived had to run for their lives. So the people who were with us, they knew many of them. They had one and he started calling the different ones. Even the bus that came was called Jamia Imam Nawawi. They collected males, they collected females. And then they came and in one tent, then everyone sat. It was a very unique gathering. The gathering with the scholars of Shaam. The women were on one side, will explain about their nature. The men. And then Allah Ta'ala allowed us and we had a nice conversation with them. Amongst the things that the one person came and spoke, he spoke on behalf of his teacher. So his teacher was sitting there but very old. He said, I can't walk to the front, I'll send my student. So the student is speaking on behalf of his teacher, who's speaking on behalf of his teacher, like student from his grandfather. He's saying, when we were in the Jamia of Imam Nawawi, it was what a unique madrasa, and how we used to enjoy teaching our students, and how well it was, but it was under the government. It was under the same regime. They allowed them also. He said, but every khutbah of ours was looked at. We had to submit the khutbah. Every teaching of ours, we had to explain it in ways that we don't bring any problem to the government. He says, one day our teacher said to us when we were sitting in a group, that do you all think you are free? He says, do you think this is real teaching? Wallah, as long as we are unable to take the word of jihad in our lessons, we are not free. He said, in our khutbah we could not say fight for the deen of Allah. In our lessons we had to explain every narration to say be happy, be happy. Thereafter the scholar says, then Allah Ta'ala brought upon us what we saw as a niqmah. It was niqmah, known in the Arab world. Niqmah means the calamity, major calamity, and niqmah. He said it came down like lightning. The Jamia was destroyed, so many died, we ran. Where and where we went. He said what we regarded as a niqmah, calamity, today, this was still when they were still in that safe zone, but they were not in the real Shaam. They were poor, they had nothing. He said what we saw is a calamity. Today, he said, we realized it was a gift from Allah, a ni'mah. Niqmah with a qaf means calamity. Ni'mah with a ain means Allah's gift. He says the day we ran, one of us here who taught in the Jamia or who studied in the Jamia, one Jamia of Imam Nawawi became 100 Jamiat. Wherever we went, we sat in our tent and we started teaching. He said the second thing is Allah gave us hurriya. Allah gave us freedom of the tongue, freedom of the pen. The word jihad, which we could never say to our children, now no one can stop us saying that word to our children. That was at that time. The first blood brought about a revolution that the world saw today. Me and you, we're very scared of blood. But it is with blood that Islam comes alive. It is in the blood of Gaza, what we're seeing today, that you're going to see a revolution tomorrow. It is with blood and suffering. We visited Afghanistan when Gaza just started. One of the leaders at that moment, when they asked him, what do you think is going to happen in Gaza? He said, the people of Gaza have to be patient. Because the help of Allah comes like how it came to us. But Allah takes martyrs like how He took from us. He said, in this war of Afghanistan, we lost. He mentioned a number which at that time I was like, can't be. He said about 500,000. 500,000. I'm not sure whether he's speaking about from the time of the Russian invasion. How did they get that number? But when you think about when America attacked also, no records. No records. That time there was something called carpet bombing. It was certain weapons of destruction the world had never known. Just left, right and center. He said we lost 500,000. 500,000. He said they have to be patient. And Allah takes martyrs like how He took. And victory comes like how it came. But patience. Blood, they saw blood. They saw suffering. That scholar then mentioned another point because he saw us from South Africa and he understood us to be from India. He said, amazing it was when we used to sit in our Jamia. Our teacher used to say to us, read the books of Al-Sheikh Abul Hassan Ali al-Nadawi. Moulana Abul Hassan Ali al-Nadawi was in Nadwa in India. He was the one who wrote Saviors of the Islamic Spirit. He was a master in the language, but with the zeal. He said we used to smell the smell of jihad from his books. When no one could talk about jihad from his books, that smell would come out. He said it is that kept the fervor of jihad alive in us. Shaykh Abul Hassan Ali Nadwi. From who Allah Ta'ala takes? From who? How Allah Ta'ala gave them power. We visited a place where they were making clothing for the orphans. It was a very unique thought of the person who established it. He said people normally send old clothing. The old clothing don't even fit the orphans. And who likes to wear somebody else's? Sometimes you don't even think about it. He says send clothing to Shaam. Some people send their underwear also. Imagine if someone sends the underwear to you. Say you haven't got underwear, make my underwear. You look at it, how you feel. But many times we do send and they use it. But the person said that we used to distribute clothing to them and we realized when they used to wear it, how they look. So then we said, why give clothing? Rather let's make clothing. Tell the people, stop sending old clothing, send money. And then the mothers would come in and their sizes would be taken. Then we would show them what designs we got. And the child would choose what clothing he wants, what shoes he wants. He says, now when the parent would come, they would walk out with honor. They're wearing nice clothing. So he took us into the place where they got all the clothing of the woman. The woman will say, okay, I want this, I want this. They would make it for her, give it to her. Then the child would say, I want this shoe, I want this. Then he took us to the men's area. The men's area was so small, like hardly anything. He said, do you know why the men's area is so small? He said, because there's hardly any men left in this country to come and take clothing. He said, they killed the men, they killed them. That small amount of men, Allah blessed them with the shawk of Shahada. That small amount today created this revolution. Small amount. How many they killed? But an amazing thing, who was the child yesterday has to grow up. And today, that world of Syria, if you go, and you'll see everyone around. Just yesterday, he was a small boy seeing his father being shot in front of him. These children who today are now standing up strong, they saw death in front of them. We met with certain of them, the ones who were of the age of 15 when the war took place. They saw more and remembered more than the one who was 5 and 4 years old. So when we would go and meet with them, they would play with us. The 4, 5, 6-year-old would play. They would be so happy someone came to visit. They would have no man visiting. Just to see a man was like, you my father. First time I saw a young Syrian boy hold on to a person, he don't want to leave the person. Normally people are shy, he's just holding, just holding. When the time comes, like, put him down, he just wants, he's looking for a father, no father. But the one who was 15, 16, when you would sit and speak with them, in their eye you could see pain. In their eye. They saw in front of them whatever they saw. They would be quiet. Others would be laughing, they would just smile. In the back of their mind, what thoughts were going. But they were definitely waiting for the day when we can stand up again. If you have to meet those people today who are all over Syria, you will see that smile has now become a laugh. As they when they went for this operation, 2 things the enemy never expected. One was they were very well prepared and Allah in His system created that. The details of that day is something else. But the other is the people who went in for this operation. They were not bothered of coming out alive. That we will go in, even if they bomb from the top, we're moving in. Exactly how in that last 2 weeks of Afghanistan, we visited a place, perhaps it was 1 month before the final takeover, 1 month or less, where the man said in a single night over 3,000 of the fighters were martyred. 3,000. I asked, like, how? He said, they went for the place, knowing that as soon as the bombers are going to come. It was an amazing thing because they took over very shortly afterwards. So the recording of that man shooting, that recording was still in that jet or in that helicopter. When they showed us that recording, you don't want to see it. Like, you have people on the ground fighting, it's dark. But when this helicopter comes, they have that ability, heat detection. They can pick up where all the people are from very far, and the helicopter is high in the sky. The people on the ground can't see the helicopter, it's that silent helicopters. But the man in the helicopter is looking at all the groups. They think they're under the tree, but heat detection, everyone is visible. You're looking at it, it's like a game that man in the helicopter is playing. And then in the helicopter, he's making like a square covering about 50, 60 people. He makes a square, then he makes another square, he makes another square. He got about 4 or 5 squares, and then he presses a button. And then that rocket or that missile just goes. Looking at that screen, you just see that whole area in fire. You just see the man burning, running out, fire on top of him. He can't understand how the enemy can see me. That man who's saying this here, he says, I was supposed to be there with them. Allah made it that day, I had a pain in my mouth. They never allowed me to go. He said, the group that I fought with, that was the group that was martyred, all of them. I'm the last one left. Normally we'll say like, hey, you are so lucky, your tooth saved you. That man said, all my friends reached where we wanted to reach. I'm the only one left behind. Shock of Shahada, they ran into the battle. Ran. Even if they come and bomb us, they say, we're not bothered. Let them come. That's how they took over. These people of Shaam, they saw what they saw. Allah blessed them all. What a shock. What a shock. In the Kitab of Al-Fitan, Nu'aym bin Hammad is a narration from Abu Umama. It's not a hadith. It is perhaps a statement he heard maybe from Kaaba Ahbar. A scholar who used to quote from the books of Daniel alayhi salam and from other scriptures. He says, the hour will not be established لَا تَقُومُ السَّاعَةِ until the best of the people of Iraq, يَتَحَوَّلَ خِيَارُ أَهْلِ الْإِرَاقِ, the best of the people of Iraq move over to Sham. وَيَتَحَوَّلُ شِرَارُ أَهْلِ الشَّامِ, and the worst of the people of Sham move over to Iraq. The hour will not be established until the best of the people of Iraq move over to Sham, and the worst of the people of Sham move over to Iraq. How close we are to that time will tell. Remember, Iraq was till very recent the land of the Sunnah. Even Iran until what was known as Shah Ismail. Before Khomeini was Shah Ismail, it was called a Shi'i movement, and then Khomeini came with another movement. Until Shah Ismail, which was not very long ago, the land of Iraq was the land of Sunnah. Even the Istanbul, the Turkish Empire, which was the Khilafah, their scholars to study Hadith would go to the lands of Iran. The great Muhaddithin came from the lands of Iran. It was the land of the Sunnah. Then the Shah Ismail came, then Khomeini came, and Iran became Shia Iran. Although there are still many of the people of the Sunnah living in Iran, great scholars, but very badly oppressed. Then it was only Iraq left. In the past, in the era of Nubuwwah, the land of Iraq and Iran, that whole thing was called Iraq. It was only Iraq left, our present Iraq. And then when the Gulf War took place, from wealth they went into poverty. And then when the second, what they call weapons of mass destruction attack took place, then the people of Iraq, rule was given over to the people of Iran. From that day when Saddam Hussein was killed, Iraq became Shia Iraq. You got Shia Iran, Shia Iraq. The people of the Sunnah still live in that land. It's not easy at all. Zulm that takes place in that land is very similar to the zulm that takes place in the lands of Sham. Many a person, for some reason, It's like an allergy in them. When they hear Iran, they always like smile. That the only country that stands up for Islam, Iran has never stood up for Islam. Iran always spoke for Islam. Iran has never stood up for Islam. They always spoke. Speaking is easy as long as you know the enemy is not going to hit you. Speaking is very easy. Many a person gets angry with Turkey. Why is Turkey not doing something? Turkey could be doing lots. But in the world of politics today, it is easier to bite like a bed bug instead of trying to bite like a mosquito. A mosquito bites, but it makes noise. It makes noise before coming, it gets a shot. Sometimes it makes noise after it goes and it gets a shot. You see your own blood on the mosquito. So you died for me. Like. The bed bug, he comes quietly, he draws blood and he goes quietly. Years later you will realize who was biting you all along. Iran can speak very loud and that's why people get thrilled. Because Iran knows they're not going to get a slap. As for other countries, they know the enemy is just waiting for them to do one thing and another war starts. Sometimes it's better not to say loudly and to do quietly. A lot of Muslim countries are doing a lot of work at the moment. A lot of work. They have not betrayed Islam. But sometimes you don't do the work loudly, you do it quietly. When Allah makes revolutions, He makes it through the help of people. There's a lot of help going to these lands, a lot of help. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Those people are so mukhlis in their effort, so mukhlis. We'll never know who they are, but don't ever criticize when we don't know what's happening underground. We only like media, we want voice. In this world of politics, it doesn't work like that. You'll have to be quiet for a while, waiting until the day comes that you can show your colors. Iran can talk how much they want. The people of khair and goodness will one day have to leave Iraq and come to Shaam. Already that movement has started. Already. And the worst of Shaam is still there. When this Bashar regime collapsed, how many soldiers on that same day changed their clothing to wear civilian clothing? Because where are you all going to run? Some ran, some went immediately. Some into Jordan, some into Iraq. They had opened because Iraq, Iran and Bashar al-Assad were always together. Always together. Right till the ending. He went begging. Bashar al-Assad went begging to Iran. Why do you go begging? He went begging to Iran to send your help. It means they were always sending help. Always sending. They were all part of the same, what is called the Renaissance. You cannot be a main member of the Renaissance unless you are a worshipper of the devil. Unless you are a worshipper of the devil. No matter how smart that jubba and turban of that man is sitting in Iran, they are only there because they do not worship Allah at all. At all they do not worship Allah. The best will come over to Shaam, the worst will go over to Iraq. At the end of times, Khurasan will be an army. Yemen will be an army. Syria will be an army. Why Syria? Shaam is very big. But the capital of the Mahdi is known as Damascus. The capital of the Mahdi is Damascus. So you have to understand when the Mahdi will come, he'll come in Makkah Mukarramah. The army of Makkah Mukarramah will become his immediately. The army of Medina will be his. The army of every Muslim land going downwards to Yemen will be his. The army going upwards, Shaam will be his. Iraq is not mentioned. Iraq, Iran is mentioned that when the Dajjal will show himself from that land, thousands will come following the Dajjal. 70,000 doesn't mean 70,000 in the Arabic language. It means thousands. They will come from that land. Whether they'll support the Mahdi in his efforts, Khurasan will support. Iraq and Iran, who knows what they'll be doing. When the Mahdi will choose his capital, he can either stay in Hijaz, Makkah Mukarramah. He got Yemen under him. He got Shaam above him. Stay in the center. The Mahdi will move to Damascus. The capital of the Mahdi is Damascus. Saudi Arabia is a very well-established country. It got courts. It never saw war. It got buildings, high buildings. A man who wants to run the Muslim world will normally choose a place that is stable, a place that has judges, a place that has stability. At that time when the Mahdi will choose his capital, he will not have time to tell people, I want Damascus as my capital, start building. It will already be ready for him. Already be ready. Damascus already is ready. Yesterday they opened up, or tomorrow they're going to open up the international airport of Damascus. The airport is ready. Little bit work here, little bit work there. Very fast, inshallah, this land will start getting ready. Very fast. If we see the land getting ready very fast, understand it's being prepared to be the capital of Allah selected. How long Allah selected will take to come, that we don't know. But now I will end now until round 2, inshallah, if you ever have the chance. Maybe when the Mahdi does come. Until round 2, we'll end with this narration. Where we are now in this world. So the Sahabi radiallahu anhu's name is Amr bin Abasa radiallahu anhu. What happens with him is the exact thing that might happen with us. He says, I come to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Makkah Mukarramah. And I asked him that, what are you? He said, I'm a Nabi. He said, what's a Nabi? He said, a Rasul. Rasul, sent by who? Allah. He said, Allah sent you. With what Allah sent you? He said that he must be worshipped, the idols must be broken, you must join family ties. He said, this is good stuff. Then he asked, but tell me how many people are following you? At that time there was a good group, maybe 40 to 60 people. But Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave what an answer? He said, Abdun wa hurrun. Abdun wa hurrun can have two meanings. One meaning is one slave and one free man. So Bilal radiallahu anhu was there, one slave, one free man, meaning he was a slave till recently, he's a free man. Second meaning is, from amongst my followers are slaves and from amongst my followers are free people. But Nabi Sallallahu gave this answer because the man in front is still an unknown man. You don't reveal too much. To say like few. That's why Amr bin Abasa says, I looked and I saw Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Bilal, Abu Bakr, there were many others, but he saw 3. He said, Allah's Nabi, the slave, the free man. He said, you know what, I really thought I was the 4th man in Islam. It was really 3, I'm the 4th, but it wasn't. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him, we're very few. Then he said, I want to follow you. He said, very good. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, but you can see my condition at the moment. What he meant is, you read the kalima, no problem. But if you have to stay here, instead of you looking after me, I'll have to look after you. People don't attack me in Makkah, I got family, you got no one. He says, you rather go back to your clan and carry on inviting. You carry on your work. And carry on asking. He says, كُنْتُ أَتَخَبَّرُ الْخَبَرَ. I continued asking. Whenever caravans would go past, I would ask, what's happening? What's happening? He said, I continued listening. During that time, I carried on my work. He said, the day Amr bin Abasa comes to Medina Munawwara, he brings half of his tribe as Muslim. He continued. He said, you carry on your work. You carry on listening. Carry on listening. Says as soon as he got the news where a person said they tried to kill him, meaning the Nabi of Allah, but they never managed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says now the people are rushing towards him. He said, I went. Soon as I came there, first thing I asked, do you recognize me? So many years. So many years. A lot of people when they meet, I say, you know me. Like, how are you going to know everyone? He said, you recognize Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Allah's Nabi. So many years, one meeting. He said, you the man who met me in Makkah. You're the man who met me in Makkah. Meaning I was waiting for you. I was waiting. Why was he so well appreciated? Because during that time where he could not be in the revolution, he kept his mind busy with the revolution. Waiting for the opportunity that he can join. That's where me and you stand. During the days where we cannot be part of the revolution, we cannot allow our mind to go away from the revolution. We will carry on following politics in the world, getting very happy, but not just for the issue of sitting and discussing and say, what do you think is going to happen now? What's going to happen now? Read this post, read that post. That is just called information. That the Yahud also do. Every day the Yahud was saying to the people in Medina Munawwara, you know what, the final Nabi is coming soon. You know what, he's coming. He's going to be like this, he's going to look like this. The Yahud had all the WhatsApp chats. All the time they were talking. One thing they never have. They were talking of the coming of the revolution. They never wanted the revolution. Me and you cannot be like the Yahud. When we will think about the coming revolution of Islam, we want it means we want to be part of it. But to be part of it, the difference between the Yahudi and Amr bin Abasa. The Yahudi lived in Medina. Amr bin Abasa had to come from another tribe. The Yahudi were not ready to sacrifice. Amr bin Abasa was ready from the beginning to sacrifice. He was ready. Nabi Sallallahu said, you carry on your work. He was ready. He said, I'll follow you now no matter what happens. He was ready. Me and you have to be ready. Ready for what? Sacrifice. And the more you will play in your mind about it, it is called niyyah. The niyyah of shahada in the path of Allah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever asks Allah for martyrdom, and he is really true about it, Allah will make him reach the ranks of the martyrs. Even if he dies on his bed. True. How he waited and he carried on listening, now we are in our waiting period. Inshallah, Syria, Allah make it will be stable. And it will start establishing itself strong when you will see the armies getting ready. It's not the end, inshallah, after Syria. And already it's happening. Many Arab, many African countries, their armies are changing, their thoughts are changing. They're coming into alliances, groups. A lot of good is happening in the Muslim world. But you don't see everything on CNN. You don't see everything on CNN. A lot of things are happening. A lot of military strength in the Muslim world is coming up. All of that makes us happy, but at the same time it tells us, when Allah is preparing the army of the Mahdi, the army gets ready when the era is not very far. When we say not very far, everyone thinks tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Enough time for us to also prepare. But don't ever sit back and think that if it's not this year, it means it's never going to happen. Next year comes very fast. 10 years come very fast. We might see, all of us, we might see it. What our age will be on that day, that we cannot say. But the chance of all of us seeing it is very, very big. Very big. From now, start preparing your mind. Be an Amr bin Abasa. That I came at the beginning, I was ready. He said, you do your job. You carry on making your mind, the mind of your family, your friends ready. A day will come with the people of Shaam, 15 years in Turkey. They took 2 bags and they said, there's nothing like Shaam. Will we be ready on the day that we have to make a hijrah for Islam? Take 2 bags and say goodbye to my world. When I travel in the world, sometimes people tell me, why don't you move like? So I tell them, people in South Africa say there's nothing like South Africa. So in those countries they say, what is there in South Africa? They read the news, they read in the news that there's only killings on the highways. Some of them think there's lions that walk on the road. We tell them that those lions are not dangerous. The walking 2-legged lions are worse than the 4-legged ones. The 4-legged, you see them in the Kruger Park, they smile at us. The other ones, you don't want to meet them at all. They ask, what is there? They say, what a nice land. What is nice on this land? That time we start thinking like, what is nice? In the morning we wake up with dua, at night we're sleeping with dua, we don't know whether we're going to see it the next day. What is? But when your heart gets attached to your dunya, a time comes that we can't leave it. Allah, let it not be. That the day that things have to happen. And that Sahabi said, choose for me. He said, I choose for you, Shaam. Because Iman, the people of Iman, when fitna will occur, will be in Shaam. On that day, me and you can't say, I like South Africa. We must also be ready with our 2 bags. The one who intends today, Allah makes it easy for him tomorrow. وصلى الله على النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Allahu Akbar.